Hi. How are you?
Mama, how are you? It's so nice to meet you.
So good to see you.
Thank you for inviting us.
It's a beautiful day.
It doesn't get much better than this,
So
does
nice, bright and shiny.
It was a bright and shiny day when we met at the White House, just 3 days before the events in Boston and West Texas.
The garden changes week to week almost.
Those twin tragedies cast a long shadow over a spring that was just beginning to bloom that day out in the White House garden. It all changed so quickly. In the days following our tour, the President and the First Lady found themselves attending memorial services for the dead. Offering the consolation of a nation, she says, has been more powerful than almost anything else she's had to face.
When there are no words, how do you come up with the words to say?
You know, in those moments, I try to speak from my heart, and I try to do a lot more listening than I do talking. It's tough, but knowing that a hug, that an ear, that a ray of hope, we know how important that is. So that, helps you find the words somehow.
She found the words in her hometown of Chicago recently, scarred by some 500 homicides last year, most of them gun-related, and the death of 15-year-old Hydea Pendleton, murdered just a week after performing at the president's inauguration.
Hydea's family was just like my family. Hydea Pendleton was me, and I was her.
That really seemed to strike even closer to home.
Well,
maybe in part because it was home.
Absolutely. And after I gave that speech, I spent some time with a group of wonderful kids at Harper High School in Inglewood, a community that has been riddled with violence. And to hear them share their stories of how every day they wake up and they wonder whether they're going to make it to school alive. I mean, every single kid worries about their own death or the death of someone every single day.
They told you that?
Yes. We have millions of kids living in these kind of circumstances. And we as a nation have to embrace these kids and let them know that we hear them, we see them. One kid told me he felt like he lived in a cage because he feels like his community is unseen, unheard, and nobody cares about it. What's our obligation to these kids? We do have one.
Critics claimed she was using the violence in her hometown for political gain in the gun debate. But others praised her, calling it the non-political plea of a mother with 2 young daughters.
All right, ready?
Either way, her concern for the nation's youth has been her top priority since becoming First Lady. She started with a battle that's hardly controversial: childhood obesity, which according to the Centers for Disease Control has more than doubled in the last 30 years.
Let's get moving, let's move, let's do this.
Her initiative, a program called Let's Move, hopes to end childhood obesity within a generation.
Let's Move is not about telling people what to do, but it's about giving people the information so that they know what to do.
But how do you overcome the kids just not wanting to eat their vegetables? Because that probably hasn't changed. I mean, I didn't want to eat my vegetables when I grew up, I'm sure.
But that's true, but you had to eat your vegetables.
I did.
Correct? Now, somehow that shifted where all of a sudden we think that kids should have a complete say over what they eat. Kids don't know. So that's one of the reasons why we're trying to educate them so they can help educate their parents. But my kids know, it's like you got to eat your vegetables. So our household is no different. Our kids are not somehow veggie lovers in a way that unusually.
It's still a struggle.
It's still a struggle. And that's what I share with other parents. It is a struggle.
Hence, the First Lady's first book, American Grown. It's a guide of sorts, with advice for parents, schools, and local governments on how to combat the obesity crisis. And all of it is built around her own pet project, a kitchen garden on the South Lawn.
When you first brought up the notion of having a garden at the White House, were there a few raised eyebrows?
No, surprisingly. I mean, I had no idea what the reaction would be, but everyone, hi, Bo.
Hey, buddy.
Hi, man.
Any chance to play in the garden, the first dog, Bo, will be happy to take it, and this day was no exception. This is the garden's second term as well.
You know how to do this?
Ever since ground was broken 4 years ago, kids from all over the country have come to play and plant in the dirt. Everything from peas and carrots to a new crop this year, wheat.
Was there a learning curve?
Oh, there were learning curves all over the place. I mean, we had a lot of failure going on. This is lots of failure going on out here.
But many successes, too.
Oh, this is our apple tree.
So this is new.
This is new. This was this year.
And when it's starting to bud, a little bit.
Don't touch it. No,
Sorry.
I'm just kidding.
Don't do that to me on the White House grounds.
Oh my goodness, that was funny.
She says the first family comes down here almost every evening in the summer when the nights are warm, and Bo is right there with them.
Bo, a Bo.
Come here. And he seriously never, tries to dig anything up or anything?
Nope,
Hi.
he doesn't.
You're a good dog.
He is a good dog.
really
He's
are.
a worker. It's like, no, I'm responsible for this.
Most nights, the White House menu is driven by what comes out of the ground here. But on Friday nights, all bets are off.
Friday's steak night.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's, we're not vegetarians. We love red meat. But we generally have steak on Friday, and that's the president's favorite dinner. So Friday nights are steak nights.
And when the president isn't home, their daughters, Sasha and Malia, get a rare chance to decide.
Dad not being here is kind of a good thing because they get to pick the menu.
Oh, really?
There's stuff that he doesn't like. He doesn't like a lot of cheesy stuff, so they'll do it when he's traveling. So, but that helps them not miss him, So it's sort of like Dad's not going to be home for dinner, and it's like, oh yeah, we get to pick dinner.
With 4 more years left at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, she says the first family isn't thinking of life after the White House just yet.
Have you allowed yourself to sort of picture life after the White House?
No, not really, because there's so much to plan right here,
In the meantime, she says, they're savoring a first, not having to run.
What's it like now for the first time in, God, I don't know how long, but you don't have an election facing your family?
Glorious. I mean, if I could think of a better word, it is, it's nice.
Does the White House feel a little less claustrophobic this time around?
The limits are still the same. I'd love to walk with you out the gate, but it would cause a stir. When I make a foray into Target, it's national news. So that stuff hasn't changed. But, we are now accustomed to it, and we know how to work within the structure.
Are you looking forward at all to not sort of being that center of attention? I mean, when your haircut makes front page news, that's got to be exhausting.
You learn to appreciate the value of anonymity. And the president and I, we will grow to appreciate that greatly in 4 years when, the everyday sort of things we do don't make front page news. But we also know the privilege of the platform that we have. I don't take this platform lightly. I try to cherish it and make the most of it every single day.